project would have died a long time ago.
What type of lessons have you learned regarding, balancing profit and social value with a company?
How do we translate diplomacy directly into positive human impact? So that was the goal. So energy underpins food security. It underpins healthcare, education. You need energy for all of these things.
When it comes to like organizations, interrelation, how do you think they can be successful today?
If you want to get business done, you've got to stop thinking of aid. It's broken. And the bottom line is the richest countries that were willing to do it are no longer willing to do it. Let's just be brutally honest. US aid is gone and it doesn't work. We have full support of the old US administration. We have full support of the new US administration. And there's one reason, because it makes economic sense. It's that simple.
What do you think is missing in today's
Traditional government contracting? It's under a strain. Governments no longer want to see you're the cheapest. Not interested in that. They're realizing you got to make long-term change because that's where the real money comes in.
Hey, Sync family, welcome. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Whether you just joined us or you've been rocking with this channel since the beginning, to all our new subscribers, welcome to Sync Community, a global family of future leaders, innovators, and problem solvers. You are in the right place. And to everyone who have been here from day one, thank you for sticking with us, giving feedback, pushing to grow, and helping us spread the mission of AI, GovCon, entrepreneurship insights every week. You can always find us here on YouTube at Sync Consultants LLC. And guess what, guys? We just launched our updated new website. Check it out at www.syncconsultants.com. Check it out for deeper insight into our services, upcoming initiatives, consulting solutions, and ways we're helping businesses unlock real growth with AI and strategy. Thank you again, Sync family.
This is Donald Kaisamba, your host. And today we have an interesting and amazing guest. I have Christopher Haswell, who is the co-founder and Government and Trade Relations Director of Aton Path. Aton Path is a global organization. We definitely welcome you here, Chris. I know you're going to tell us about, how did you go from war rooms to boardrooms, $2 billion plus global development finance, and still set your human impact, right? So welcome to our show, Chris. It's great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about?
Well, first off, thanks very much for having me, Donald. It is a privilege. I would also like to say this is my first podcast, so I apologize in advance to all your listeners. This might end up. No, but let's start off. You mentioned that we managed to raise $2 billion in DFI, so direct foreign investment. And really, it started with, we had a plan, we had a purpose, and we had to build trust to get that, secure that funding. That's basically it. So starting with a plan, a purpose, and trust. It's as simple as that. But to give you a little bit more background on our company and what got us to this point, I co-founded it with my business partner, Genevieve G. She's the CEO. And we established it basically to answer one simple question, really. And it was, how do we translate diplomacy directly into positive human impact? So that was the goal. Because everyone talks about human impact, but actually, if you work it right, it's a leveler for everyone. It doesn't matter which way you lean politically, left, right, whatever. Human impact is an amazing leveler. And when you tie that into, economic returns, then it's pretty simple as well. Because everyone needs money to live. And, anyway, so over the past 2 decades, I've been fortunate. I've been privileged enough to advise governments around the world, from Europe, North America, Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, South Asia. But it's really what I've found through all of those opportunities is it always turns back to trust. Until people trust you, no trade's going to happen. No policy is going to be changed. There's going to be no massive progress in anything. You got to build that trust before you can start anywhere. Going back to our flagship initiative, which is the Accessible Energy Bank, which, as you said, is a $2.2 billion model. And it's all about energy independence and then eventually a green transition from fossil fuels, hydrocarbons, to green and clean, and with a focus on lower middle income countries, the LMICs. Okay. And we decided to start in West Africa. Just to lay a bit more groundwork, every project that we lead, we use our human impact metrics. So we basically That guides us on everything we do. So the 5 human impact metrics that we have are physical health, mental health, social capital, economic participation, and environmental stability. Now, these aren't just principles, they're measurable outcomes. So we use these to guide us on whether or not, A, do we want to do this project? B, how much impact is it really going to have? And then C, we're able to like monitor the results based on those human impact metrics. Okay. So for example, in Sierra Leone, which is the pilot project for the Accessible Energy Bank, we know we're creating thousands of skilled local jobs. We know that we're developing internationally recognized training programs for technicians and other critical workforce roles. We're shaping new policy to enable government-to-government fuel sales. We're stabilizing the national fuel market through long-term cost reductions and secure supply chains. Then at the same time, we're removing corruption and bad actors from play, and we're positioning Sierra Leone as the fuel hub for the whole of West Africa. And then in turn, the United States as a true economic partner, which replaces the need for aid. We're replacing it with sustainable, transparent trade. To be fair, what the US has been saying since the new administration change, it's all about trade, not aid. And that's exactly what AID's been doing for the last 4 years with its work in Sierra Leone.
Awesome. So you are in a couple of different countries right now, right? And I know you mentioned that you're focused on specifically West Africa. Is that a new thing you did? Your company is doing 2025, or what would you say is the foundation of Aton Path? So from where you begin to where you're at now, and why West Africa?
That's actually kind of like I'm good. Okay, so let me think on that for a second.
No worries.
Let me explain what. Okay, we didn't go out and. Well, we did. Hang on. I'm not explaining this very well. Okay. Why West Africa? We can go to any country for sustainable growth. Let's start that off. It doesn't have to be an LMIC. Obviously, our guiding principles are based on maximizing human impact. Africa, Latin America, those are places that inherently have been treated like they deserve handouts rather than they need to be treated like equal partners and just given the facilities that they need to be able to work in the same way that the rest of the world can. And so any country could have been chosen as long as we're following human impact metrics, as I said. So, it was more about we were led that way because of the people that we know, to be quite honest with you. So we knew that we wanted to do something in Africa. We'd already had massive success in Latin America with Public Innovation Fund. And we knew that we wanted to then tackle Africa. So I want to be totally honest with you. What we wanted to do with the Accessible Energy Bank, aside from changing lives, which is obviously the number one factor, number two is we wanted to demonstrate that our human impact metrics work. So we went and picked a really hard place to work in, and then we picked a really hard sector to work in. So, unless you want to go to kind of the next level up of like defense and weapons and stuff like that, hydrocarbons are pretty much like up there with, regulations and it being difficult. So we're like, look, if our human impact metrics can make a difference here and in an apolitical way, then we're really proving that we've hit on the way to do stuff. So the idea was that our work in West Africa would demonstrate how a human-centric approach works in practice. So the Accessible Energy Bank is not just a fuel and power project. It's the foundation for progress across society. Energy underpins food security because lower energy costs make transport and cold storage affordable for farmers, cooperatives, etc., to bring more local produce to market and preserve it safely, etc. It underpins healthcare because hospitals and clinics need reliable energy. Otherwise, how can they book in, surgery or emergency stuff? All of these things, preserving medicines, keeping people alive. You need the energy. Education. If you haven't got regular power, you can't be teaching kids. Kids can't be learning at home. You can't be connected to the world because, just working with the government in Sierra Leone communications is difficult. It's like you need energy for all of these things. So the bottom line is that energy was a good starting point because it touches every essential element of life. Okay. Is what allows people, communities, and nations to grow. And it also is needed to keep them healthy and to thrive. So it was very much, let's pick something that has to be in an area that is typically difficult because of access to financial mechanisms. And let's prove that we can make this work for everyone. And then from there, everything should be easier. See what I mean?
Yeah, definitely see it. Because what I was trying to get to also is you are a global firm. So you have any lessons learned from balancing profit and social value? Because I keep hearing you saying about human impact as well. So what type of lessons have you learned regarding balancing profit and social value with a company? Or what
Can I reframe that? Because it's back to the trust thing again. Because I know we mentioned earlier on that we were going to discuss about trust again. I want to talk about really, if you don't mind,
No.
it's more about turning that trust into trade, like we mentioned before. So, basically, we use that trust as currency because, I mean, looking at West Africa, banking is a problem, guarantees are a problem. And it's not Africa's fault. It's just the way that things have progressed over time, and the difference between certain countries' credit and da da da. So, what do we have to replace that good credit rating is trust. Okay. Right. So, and since COVID, everyone wants to do business remotely. Okay. But to build that trust for meaningful systematic change, you got to do it in person. So it requires that face-to-face connectivity. You can't build multi-billion dollar partnerships over email. Let's be real. I mean, it might happen every once in a while, but let's be honest, especially in difficult countries. I know from personal experience being in Asia or the Middle East or, these are places, Africa, these are places where you got to go and meet people. They got to see the whites of your eyes, You're not going to convince them over an email to come on board. Right. And I mean, for the Sierra Leone project alone, I mean, it's repeated over the last 4 years. We've been all over the US. We had to go to Dallas to meet ministers. We had to go to Washington. We had to go to Sierra Leone. We had to go back to Washington. We had to go to Sierra Leone. We had to go to, it's like there's a lot of physical travel, but you do that and you start earning the trust, and then you've got to follow it up by keeping it with a long-term commitment, So it's been that physical engagement, but then continuing to strengthen it by bringing more to the table, more partners like the US State Department, I mean, having the privilege of being able to have Aton Path signing with President Bio, and Deputy Secretary Christopher Landau was just incredible. But the reason the US government was willing to do that was because it could see that, this is about aid again. This is about trade. It's not aid again, So it's flipping that on its head. But we're going as far as setting up a permanent office in Sierra Leone. We've appointed Greg Quinn, OBE. He's a seasoned British government diplomat. He's been doing it for 40 years as our regional director there. Again, for trust, they've seen him, they've worked around him. The US has worked with him, Sierra Leone's worked with him, they know him. So, we're putting him there along with our in-house specialists for community engagement. Plus, we're employing a team of on-the-ground community engagement people as well. Again, it's back to that trust. But, all of this together helps to secure the funding. And then from there, I can't press hard enough to anyone who might be listening. Getting your in-country stakeholders supporting you early is key. Like, you can imagine the kind of shenanigans that go on, the kind of troubles that happen when you're trying to do a project of this scale in regions where typically business is handled a bit different. There's fees to pay to open doors. And you're trying to say, we can't work like that anymore. So we got to do it a different way. So there's got to be a lot more engagement. There's got to be that trust because, before people would do things, they wouldn't get paid. So then they would end up with nothing. So they're very much used to, you pay me first. But that's paying for access, which we don't do. So we've got to bring people in. We've got to show them there's training, show them that there's something for them in the long run and build that trust so that they're willing to do the work and we're avoiding that corruption element. But I mean, certainly in Sierra Leone, if it wasn't for the help of the US Embassy team.
Hey, Sync family, welcome. I just want to take a moment to say thank you, whether you just joined us or you've been rocking with this channel since the beginning. I appreciate every single one of you who recently crossed a milestone with all our videos across the board. Your likes, your comments, your shares, and support mean more than you know. To all our new subscribers, welcome to Sync Community, a global family of future leaders, innovators, and problem solvers. You are in the right place. And to everyone who have been here from day one, thank you for sticking with us, giving feedback, pushing to grow, and helping us spread the mission of AI, entrepreneurship, and global impact. Make sure you continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay connected as we drop more powerful conversations and insights every week. You can always find us here on YouTube at Sync Consultants LLC. And guess what, guys? We just launched our updated new website. Check it out at www.syncs. Check it out for deeper insight into our services, upcoming initiatives, consulting solutions, and ways we're helping businesses unlock real growth with AI and strategy. We welcome all our new clients, partners, and collaborators daily. So feel free to explore and reach out. Thank you again, Sync family.
This project would have died a long time ago because when there are trust issues, there's just having that, like Ambassador Hunt, he was phenomenal. He's inviting, the Sierra Leoneans into the embassy. He's hosting them. He's making sure they're feeling loved, making sure that they know that the US is watching things as well, so it gives them that comfort level. Ian Artens, who is I can't remember his exact title, but he has been absolutely incredible. And, we've had times where we've had to trust partners of ours to go and they don't maybe understand policy quite as much or, sensitivities, and they might have said the wrong thing. And that has immediately caused ends with, foreign government. And it's very sensitive, but having that US team there where we can say, would you mind going and doing a bit of hand holding? Would you mind? Has been phenomenal. And like I said, get all your ducks in a row in country before you start like really hitting hard. And I mean, on Sierra Leone's side as well, there's a chap called Mark Tumbe, who is the director of, what is he? He works under the Department of Trade, director of integration. And he's been phenomenal. And he is like the go-to, and there will always be problems. But because we built up that trust over a period of like well over a year as we were building up and we're saying, look, this is what we want to do. What do you think? Does this help you? It's about that engagement, but long-term engagement. Don't expect people to do anything for you until you build that trust, especially when you're doing something this complicated. But then even I want to say the very last deciding factor, because then you got to commit. You got to commit your time. People are like, I want to do a deal. And again, since COVID, there's so many people that think they're brokers. We are not brokers, by the way. And there's a place for brokers and they're great. But suddenly everyone thinks a phone call, I'm going to introduce this person to this person. That's it. It's all going to happen. It doesn't. It doesn't happen. You need to work and you got to commit resources. And to be honest, the final reason we committed was because I reached out to someone that I trust and I value. And I knew that she knows President BO, it was Lady Sherry Blair. And I was like, look, I know that you know Africa well. I know you and your husband have spent a lot of time there. This is where we're thinking of going. This is the plan we have. I didn't, it's not a case of going and saying, hey, fix my problems. It's like, look, this is what we're planning on doing. Do you think this works? Do you think that this will be received well? And would you personally go and put all your resources into that country? And she was able to say to me, hey, I met him personally. I know this ties in, And all the positive, the final worries that I had all evaporated at that point. Because again, I have trust in that person and I have trust in the US and I have trust, and it's like, so then their confidence builds up mine. And of course it works the other way around. So I can't say it enough. Building up that local support in country is what will keep you going the course. 4 years is a long time to keep faith that you get when you're spending and you keep going and going and you have trouble, but you got to keep going and you got to stick with it. That's it. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. I really love your impression of building trust and forming relationships, not just through light communication, but heavy communication and relationship building, but actually being on the ground, on site and interacting with the key players that are going to make things happen. So, you and I know, 2025 with our new administration in the U.S. and just the whole tariff market and all that disengagement, even, there's targets or threats between U.S. and Canada, who has always been friends, and U.S. Mexico, U.S. China. I mean, there's so much going on. So with global trends, and threatening margins, right? So what kind of advice would you, or what would you say with the government leaders that are missing in today's market? What do you think is missing?
The first thing to realize is that the world has completely changed when it comes to like how, if you want to get business done, you've got to stop thinking of aid. Like it hasn't worked, it's broken. And the bottom line is the richest countries that were willing to do it are no longer willing to do it. Let's just be brutally honest. US aid is gone and it doesn't work. However, there are good things you can take from it that you can replicate. And the one thing that we have found is that by focusing on human impact, and I'm not talking about, like the kind of left leaning, we gotta beat ourselves down to, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the simple stuff, the basics, the human impact metrics we have. If you follow those, then everyone's on the same level. Okay. We have literally gone from, we have full support of the old US administration.
Okay.
We have full support of the new US administration. And there's one reason, because it makes economic sense. That's simple. Don't get me wrong. I would say the new government we have now in the US is definitely the partner we want because it's leading the world this way, and so it ties in with what we see completely. So we're so glad to have it as a partner. But basically traditional government contracting, is under a strain. Governments no longer want to see you're the cheapest. Not interested in that. They're realizing you got to make long-term change because that's where the real money comes in. So, what they're missing at the moment is that the markets have changed. Like I said, governments aren't looking for lowest price anymore. They're looking for the highest long-term value. So that means transparency, alignment with national priorities. If you can tie in what you're doing to national priorities and then measure it against social outcomes, then you're winning from day one because you're already doing the government's job for it, But if you ignore it, then you're basically going to see that your profits are shrinking because you're constantly fighting competition instead of building long-term trust. You don't need to get in the sandbox and fight with everyone else. You just need to look at what the national priorities are of that country and figure out how to do that long-term.
Awesome.
Which is pretty straightforward, to be honest. And if you use the human impact metrics, you can do it in a way where you're not offending anyone. When we first told, I got to tell you, because we're a human impact company. When I first told people I know that we're going into hydrocarbons, I was getting death threats from some people. Seriously, people on one side were like, you're saying you're trying to do human, and it's like, yeah, but if we turn off oil and gas tomorrow, how many billions of people are going to die? We've got to get real as well.
Right.
We've got to get real. You're talking about an area that has no electricity right now. We got to give them the basics, but fast track them to green and clean. But you can't just jump a step. And the bottom line is the hydrocarbon market needs new markets because the rest of the world is already in a position of transitioning. So great, let them work in West Africa, but on the understanding they've also got to give back and they've also got to help with the transition to green and clean. So it's do you see what I mean? If you bring in the human impact metrics, no one, and even those people that were aggressive, threatening, and all the rest of it at the beginning, now they're seeing the overall plan and they're like, oh, okay, hang on a minute. It kind of has to happen that way. All of a sudden, Sierra Leone will become a richer nation with higher GDP, with better educated people, with new economies, new technology and innovation. And it's going to start exporting throughout the rest of West Africa, which means it's got new revenue stream. And then as it develops, it's going to be able to share the technology advancements for the other transitions to the other countries and so on and so on. So it's just future-proofing that GovCon and consulting work, for the long term rather than the short-term fight. I mean, we had a client in the Middle East we've just taken on, and I won't say too much about them, but they are one of only 4 companies that have been in the UAE as long as they have. They've been there 56 years. They are a phenomenal company. They get their contracts. I mean, the CEO is a phenomenal forward-thinking chap. And he could very easily just sit there on his laurels and go, we get 1 in 4 projects every single time. It depends which ruler at the time. Do you know what I mean? Whichever one is closest, but they know they're going to carry on living very well for a long time. He saw what we're doing and he's like, look, I want to change. I want to win contracts on merit now.
Right.
Let's do it for the right reasons. So if you're willing to put in that extra bit of effort, if you're willing to look at long term, if you're willing to look at national objectives, and you're willing to build that trust, which involves a little bit more work at the beginning, then you will have way more success and for a far longer period. And you won't be fighting constantly with everyone else to keep what you've built,
All right. That's great. That's great insight. And I know you mentioned the human design and the human social impact is the Aton Path way. So what would you say are just key fundamentals that I would say are the source of that human path, that Aton's path. I know building trust is one of them, but just from another perspective, what would you think of like some of the ingredients that you guys have that are working in the global market?
I think it's the willingness to look at problems and then just come up with a solution. There's like a solution to any problem. it There is a solution to every problem. It's just the willingness to do it. A lot of people say that they're willing to do it, but all they're interested in is the short term. They'll hit 100 doors and hope for one answer. We spend a long time deciding who we're going after, who is the right fit. A lot of research and development into that, way more than anyone else does from my experience. And then we just go for who we want. And we make it so clear why they want to be with us that is the only one, and we get it. Like, it's just do your research, and then connect at a human level. Like I said, our human impact metrics are very simple. It's about health. It's about education. It's about, it's about the basics, and but that ties into everything.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? So you have a reason to talk to anyone, and no one can argue it. It doesn't matter what country you go to. Even if it's like, I'm not saying work in a dictatorship, but even in a dictatorship, you know what? They still want healthy workers. So it's like, even to a bad person, you could be like, look, you want your workers healthy. So you've got to invest in healthcare, or your workers aren't going to be healthy and you're not going to get the returns you want. Like, do you see what I mean? It's like, no matter what, as long as the people are getting better, then everything else gets better. You need the people for success.
Right. I like the aspect of your human concept, focusing on that health and education.
It's like I said, and it's simple. It's five metrics. Physical health. Okay, if people are physically healthy,
Right.
they're happier, they're working better, they're working longer, they're less of a burden on the healthcare system. So many reasons why you want healthy people. In fact, everything. Okay. And then you've got mental health, where if people are all screwed up, messed up in the head, then how can they do anything, And then you have like really bad stuff happens when people are in a bad way, So again, huge problem on the economy, huge problem for like loss of hours of working, people getting killed, like all sorts of terrible stuff. So that's something that needs to be dealt with. Social capital, people being able to, be part of society, making sure that they have a value, making sure that they have their place in society. Economic participation, everyone should be able to participate. Look how many countries there are where they're getting ripped off because they just exchanged currency, the black market currency exchange and stuff like this. It shouldn't be the way, like if everyone can participate in the economy makes more money. It's as simple as that. Everyone should be able to participate. If they can, the country makes more money, GDP goes up. And then obviously the environment is important because we need the planet we live on. Okay. We got to be real. We need to have resources. We do need to rely on the planet, but we've also got to sustain it, but in a sensible way. And I'm not talking about, planting the odd tree. I'm on about, cleaning up the mining operations, or making sure that, we are transitioning over a period. And those countries that are in a position to transition sooner, then helping them transition sooner, making island nations independent of tourism and making the tourism pay to be part of the solution to the problems, rather than them just, making tons of money and then buggering off. And everyone's fine in every other country, but those small islands are getting wrecked because of all the tourism. And who's getting rewarded? No one's getting educated. None's getting prepared. And then these big multinationals will just move on to the next Paradise Island when that one's broken. We've got to stop that sort of stuff. So all of these things are possible. And all of your listeners, they can have an advantage just by making a bit more effort at the beginning. That's what it boils down to. Forget all this joker broker stuff that everyone's picked up from COVID, where I'll be on the WhatsApp group. I've got 20,000 people here. Deal. Doesn't happen. It might once in a gazillion, but you know what does definitely get results? Hard work.
Absolutely.
Sorry, 100%. I don't know if I'm digressing now, but I'm talking to you.
No, you're doing well.
Anyway, with Sierra Leone, I've had everything, death threats and kidnap threats and this and that, and everyone coming out the woodwork that we've spoken to for a split second. Is one person, I won't say names. One person. I had one conversation with them 4 years ago. And then I'm like, yeah, great. You want to get involved? This is great. Look, this is what I'd suggest. can you sign an NDA? I'm like, couldn't sign an NDA. Okay. Can you, like, this is how I would see like us working together. Here's a draft like agreement. Could you look at that? I'm like, nothing. Okay. Here's some other I came up with document, loads of stuff. Anyway, nothing. Could never even like have a proper conversation, nothing beyond blah, 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 blah on WhatsApp groups. And I'm like, okay, this is going nowhere. Thank you very much. Goodbye. The minute they see some success, I'm part of it, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You rip me off. I'm like, okay, if I bump into Bill Gates 20 years ago and we have a conversation about software and I say, hey, I'd love to be part of that. And then Bill Gates says to me, can you sign an NDA? Can you look at this? Can you do that? Can you do this? And then I do none of it and he doesn't hear from me again in 4 years. Can I then phone up Bill Gates and be like, I own part of this?
Right.
You see what I mean? It's like, get away from that broker mentality, that like quick win, and just do the work. Like literally do the work with purpose. It starts with trust. It starts with purpose. Have a purpose, build that trust, just do the work.
Right. So when you say culture, and I know you're a global company, but for instance, in the US, even with us, we technically, when we do, business, we keep it around that 2 to 3 year mark where we want to see some type of some form of results. And then, for instance, I also read that in Japan is different, right? They give it 7 years. How has culture played a role into how you come across, like, how much patience are you going to have when you deal with a country, or
Should he? Okay, it's a kind of combination of factors. And to be honest, again, this will very much go back to building up your in-country stakeholders at the beginning, because those are the ones that you learn to love. Those are the ones that you'll learn to complain to, like they'll be the ones that will give you the honest answers, and they'll be like, keep going, you can do it. Like, because you built that relationship. It's the only way you can do it. The other thing is learning to love and embrace the culture. Like I've spent a lot of time in Japan. I've done projects in Japan. I love Japan. Like, but it took a while to understand that you've got like the whole, the corridor system whereby, you only know if you're doing well if you're getting invited to that meeting room at the very end. Everything else is a step-by-step process, in the Middle East, the worst thing you can do is say to someone who's important, can you get your lawyer to like confirm this stuff? Like, you might as well go back 6 months of like trust building because you destroyed it by asking them to proof up. You got to look at ways of getting them to proof up, but like in a non-offensive way. It's like that little bit of time. But again, getting to know your local stakeholders helps a lot. The other thing as well is taking advantage of your own government. Consulates are there to serve you, to support you. So if you're trying to do business as a foreign person in another country, start with that consulate, make some friends there, either fly there in person and show them you're real, or start engaging them, once they've noticed you and recognized you, they'll guide you too. I mean, I did a favor for someone in Turkey not so long ago, Istanbul. And it was like, I made a quick call to the British consulate there beforehand. I'm like, look, I'm not prepped for this. This is a favor. Can you just like, I could do with a trustworthy accountant. I need a good car and driver's service. I know it sounds really bad, but like, I literally find, but because it was the right person, they're like, yeah, this is the car and driver's service we use. Here's an accounting firm that you can trust.
Right.
Da, 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 da. They even hosted us for a coffee because I didn't have an office set up there because this was purely a favor. I flew in, did my meetings, sorted some stuff out for 24 hours and flew back out. That's how helpful they were willing to be. I'm not suggesting you dump it on them all the time.
Right.
But when you want to do anything internationally with government, use your government,
Right.
They're there to serve you.
Absolutely.
Be their friend.
Bro, I really love what you're talking about when you say in-country stakeholder, right? So when it comes to, like, let's say CEOs, public sector leaders, what do you think they should master when it comes to having a deal stick, like, $1 billion of deals? Well, I mean,
usually I find, because once you're in country, use your own government as your mouthpiece in country. Get them to organize meetings with the other government in country. And that will obviously lend you credibility anyway. And then from there, once you're engaged with the host country, you can then speak to like their Department of Trade or whatever their equivalent is. And you can be like, look, this is what we're doing. Who are the movers and shakers in your country that can be trusted? Who are the ones that are going to obviously know your country and your market? There are certain countries where there's a lot of like nepotism or people helping people, or you know what I mean? They might not necessarily give you the truth, but you'll get a good idea. If the country wants success, as long as they're not asking you for backhanders, which you should never give, and because you're just setting yourself up for major problems, they should be honest. If you're going to them, you're saying, I want to improve stuff in your country. Who are the people to work with that are doing the right things that we can, or that will be receptive to this? That's going to be your quickest way of getting those introductions. And I got to say, like, some people might not like this, but one of the most powerful things you can do is if you can pull US interests into it, you can pay the State Department to check out these companies as well. It's not expensive and they will go deep.
Hey, Sync family, welcome. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Whether you just joined us or you've been rocking with this channel since the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you. We recently crossed a milestone with all our videos across the board. Your likes, your comments, your shares, and support mean more than you know. To all our new subscribers, welcome to Sync Community, a global family of future leaders, innovators, and problem solvers. You are in the right place. And to everyone who have been here from day one, thank you for sticking with us, giving feedback, pushing to grow, and helping us spread the mission of AI, GovCon, entrepreneurship, and global impact. Make sure you continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay connected as we drop more powerful conversations and insights every week. You can always find us here on YouTube at Sync Consultants LLC. And guess what, guys? We just launched our updated new website. Check it out at www.sync.s. Check it out for deeper insight into our services, upcoming initiatives, consulting solutions, and ways we're helping businesses unlock real growth with AI and strategy. We welcome all our new clients, partners, and collaborators daily. So feel free to explore and reach out. Thank you again, Sync family.
People don't like it, and you got to get them to agree to being like checked out. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. Depending on who you're working with, and it doesn't work for everything, but know your country, know the resources that that country has, and utilize them. You just, again, it's back to trust and transparency. This is what we're doing. These are the reasons we're doing it. Use a human impact metrics method. So you're like, look, this is what we're going to do for your country. You're going to help the people, going to do that. That's going to have the knock-on effect of this, this, and this.
Right.
This is how we're going to work. Tell us what your national priorities are. Oh, okay, cool. All right, we can do that through the private sector, no problem. I'm going to let you monitor it. We're going to set up a steering committee. Government should have eyes, you know, so you can still do, it doesn't have to be government completely. It doesn't have to be government contracts, but you can still have government eyes on it. And then it means you've got access then when you need it to tap into government resources. So it might be financial, it might be policy change, it might be whatever it is, but bring them in early again. Let them know what you're doing. Show them politely that you're in their country and you respect them and you want to be part of the solution. You want to come up with solutions with them. Don't tell them what you want to do, but like say you want to learn, and then come up with solutions together.
Right. Awesome. So before I transition into another part, I just want to keep things a little focused. So there's a lot of things going on with the global trading, global workforce, global alignment. So, and one of the things that I keep hearing you saying that, of course, you're not focused on all businesses or communities should not only be focused on aid, but there's been a lot of companies, a lot of firms like yourself that focused on getting some kind of aid to do their work. And based on what we do know, there's been a lot of cuts globally, even with the United Nations, World Trade Organizations. There's a major organization that's been around for over 100 years that may have gotten some kind of cut. So how do you see the global market and its alignment today when it comes to like, you know, interrelations, governments, interrelations, organizations, interrelation? How do you think they can be successful today?
Well, I think that the world's governments have had a shake-up call because obviously of the US's approach. And it has been a bit of a sharp shock for everyone. But I think realistically, people that are looking at it from an economic perspective can see why it's happened. And to be fair, there's been some good results from it. Now, we know that institutions like USAID has, it's done a lot of good, but it's also wasted a lot of money. Now, the thing is, the minute you make this about economics rather than aid, everyone's on board, number one. Number two, you don't have these, people that are on like $500,000 a year salaries but doing nothing other than looking good because everyone's accountable because this is about economic returns. It might be based on human impact, but the bottom line is, if this ain't making money, it's not business. You're only really doing business when you're making money. Otherwise, you're just talking about doing business, or otherwise you're just giving stuff away. Business happens when you're making money. So, it's like I said, any country can do sustainable growth if you use the human impact metrics. Okay. It's that simple. And I think that right now it is a global shift from aid to trade. And the bottom line is these nations, they don't want charity in the first place. Let's be honest. Who wants charity? The rest of the world has forced it upon what should be, let's take Africa as an example. It should be the richest part of the world, really. With all the resources and everything else. And yet there it is, having to accept aid. You're not telling me anyone wants to take that. They want to make money. So just make it possible. It's that simple. Like every project we do, we're making sure we're also, when we do a big part of it is community engagement. Find out what the community wants. Off the back of the Accessible Energy Bank, we're improving housing. We're putting in new ferry systems. We're going to build a new innovation fund that's replicating the success of the one we built in Ecuador. We're going to be bringing new countries, consular services there so that there's more interaction between governments and countries. We're building government-to-government policy for trade. We're removing corruption. So much impacting from something as simple as, but what we're doing is just by removing fuel piracy and, bad actors, suddenly the fuel is going to range from 15 to 25% less than they're currently paying. So a proportion of those savings are going straight back in to the country to stimulate microeconomies. Okay. So those people that couldn't engage before, we're able to give small loans. We're able to invest in training, in education. I'll give you an example, even down as low as the guys that have got to drive the fuel around. We're noticing just how dangerous it is because they haven't been trained properly. The vehicles are bad, they're not been maintained, they're risky. So we're saying, right, if you're a truck driver, you deserve a pension. You deserve to be paid properly. You deserve to have training. You deserve a vehicle that is safe. You deserve, so we're going to make sure that they have all the things that they should have. Because I tell you what, if they're working for Shell in the US or whoever, they would have that stuff. Why should it be any different in Africa? This is just a leveler. You lever things for everyone. Everyone's the same. No one's smarter than anyone else if they've got the same things. Do you know what I mean? It's like You put a good university there. Guess what you're going to have? A load of clever people.
Right.
Now, if make a nation rely on aid, what are you going to have? You're going to have a load of upset people that are sick of begging, and are like, give me a break. And then in the end, you know what? They don't want to do anything because it's like, well, you make it impossible. Our banks don't work with your banks. You don't really invest. You come here, you talk about investing, you raise the finance and then you bugger off and you don't really do it. We know what really goes on. And and I know. So this is just about the world's gotten to the point now where it can't get away with this nonsense anymore. And it's like, okay, we can all achieve sustainable growth if we just work together and we do it based on economic development and trade.
Right. So just a couple of fast takes that we're going to talk about. So, with Aton's Path. So what would you say are the best countries right now for sustainable growth?
As I said, any country can have sustainable growth if it follows basic human impact metrics. Okay. So if they're looking out that people are improving, then that country can have massive sustainable growth. Okay. if you want me to leave you with like a really good tip,
Right.
okay? And this is something I've only just kind of realized, so I'm giving away my advantage here. But the biggest thing we need to change right now, it kills me to share this, but anyway, is working a treat. Is turning the gatekeepers into guarantors. So the biggest problem in places like LMICs is the banking system doesn't work.
Okay.
You know, they don't have the guarantees and everything else, but there's plenty of institutions that can help, like your DFC, your Exim, you know, European Development Bank. There's lots of money, loads of cheap money as well around. But the problem is gatekeepers stop you from accessing that money. Guess what you got to do? You build trust with the gatekeepers.
Right.
You give them purpose. And then you say, look, here's the solution to this problem over here. You have the finances that we need. We just got to figure out a mechanism that works for everyone.
Okay.
So all you've got to do, as I said, is back to building that trust. You build the trust with the gatekeepers.
Mhm.
So, basically what you're doing is you're enabling money to flow. Because really money, no one's turning up with 10 million in cash. It's just bits of paper. It's compute. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so all you're doing is you're turning those gatekeepers into the guarantors. So if you can do that, you're winning. And they can do it because we're literally doing it right now. You've just got to convince them that they can trust you to spend the time. And once they see that result one time, they just keep doing it. Like if you do a little bit of research, like I said, you spend the time initially, like look at what's already been achieved. It doesn't take anyone of great intelligence to be like, okay, well, if it worked for infrastructure by combining these two mechanisms, it worked for an infrastructure project in that country, backed by that country. Does it work for this sector? And then you check if it can go into that sector, if there's any sanctions, if anything else, and you kind of build what could work, illustrate how it's worked in the past,
Okay.
and then go to them and say, look, this is what we're doing. These are our stakeholders that are supporting us, which gives it the credibility. This is the need. The government is saying, yes, in writing, this is what it needs. These are national objectives. It fits in with what you're allowed to do. However, we've got this small stumbling block. We need to create a mechanism just for this. Can we do this together? Yeah, we can. Let's get on with it. But again, it's all back to trust.
All right. So what's one thing that you would change in today's development financial model?
I guess it would be changing the credit system, because the credit system it empowers the rich. Everyone else is kind of a bit stuffed. It's a longer conversation, but we have ideas, but it's like, again, you got to be real. I mean, like, obviously you don't want to be giving credit to people that are going to screw it up. I mean,
Right.
we got to be real as well, but it doesn't mean you stop people from having credit. What it means is you put instruments in place to protect people or educate people or stop people from doing stupid stuff. Because the thing is, if you've never given someone credit and then you suddenly give it to them, they're probably going to make some mistakes. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's not about stopping the credit. It's about, we want you to have it. We want you to work with it. We want it to be cheap. But what we need to do is do it in a way where it's not going to get screwed up. By not giving credit to any country that needs it, you know what it means? It means they got to get what they need from somewhere else,
Right.
because their people are going to die otherwise. Like, it's that simple. You're
Right.
talking energy. They don't have it. People are dying. So what are you going to do? You're going to protect your people. You have to. So then you've got no choice but to buy from the people that will give you the credit.
Right.
So that means finances is being financed by certain countries that certain countries would say are unfriendly.
Okay.
And what is supplied is stuff that is sanctioned. And they have no choice because they will die otherwise. So rather than beating people down, how about we work together to create the credit mechanisms that work, or the instruments that allow them access? All of a sudden, they're paying less. Money's going back into the economy. People that we want to be working with, the good actors, not the bad actors, are suddenly in play.
Right.
And we're all a good, friendly world, all working together. And guess what it does? It then stops the ability for bad actors to play.
Right.
Bad actors can only play because we make it impossible for people to do things the way they really want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Who wants to pay 25% more than they need to on fuel?
Nobody.
Who wants terrible quality fuel that screws up all their engines because it's never to the spec that they've ordered? Who wants it when it's not needed, but it doesn't turn up when it is? Do you know what I mean? It's like, that is nuts. No forward planning, no proper infrastructure, no reinvestment, no like ability to reinvest, no like maintaining stuff. Or you end up with all of this infrastructure that's been built to hold leverage over a country, but no one's been educated, no one's been trained. So guess what it does? It all falls apart. There's no need for it because there's no economic sense to it. There's no business being built. There's no trade being built. So you build these, you spend billions, but really it's not going to the people.
Right.
It's going to a select few that get very rich off of it. And then they have leverage over a country.
Right. Because it's one of the things that the global impact right now, and I know I'm going back to that human concept design that you have, that human focus. So when it comes to right now, even what we see with technology and its advancement, and I would say artificial intelligence, robotics, its impact, even in the UK, Canada, US, China, I'm sure it's going to make its way down to maybe developed EMA markets. So maybe South Africa, maybe, I don't know, Nigeria, or maybe some of these other countries are going to start facing these AI impacts. So what's happening is there's a lot of, I guess, less human need and maybe upskilling desire, or maybe or technical, or maybe more restructuring of how we work as human beings. So you having that global edge, do you feel like that's, I mean, I know it has an impact, right? So
100%.
yeah,
But it's another tool. It's just a tool. It's just another development in our human growth. I mean, it's funny. It actually reminds me of, I was reading this article, just random, but like, anyway, it was about the movie industry, and because we got friends in the movie industry, and they keep coming back to us asking us to like work on some new studio projects. And we're like, yeah, we can tie it into the human impact metrics. And it's like, oh yeah, that all does work. But anyway, they were complaining about like AI and taking over and everything else. And then I read this article, and it was talking about the Tron film, and the original Tron film came out.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't see it, it was in the 80s, but like, I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old that I saw it and remember it. But anyway, and apparently like everyone was up in arms when it came out, because it was the first movie with like real CGI and stuff. So even though it was like, it broke all records for like, nothing had been done like it before. It was amazing. It was computer generated. Didn't win one Oscar for anything, because if I'm incorrect on any of this, but this is a story I read. Okay. Didn't win any Oscars, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, CGI is like ruining the industry and everything else. But look now, films are like beautiful, and you got CGI and you got this and you got that, but the actors are still acting, and the industry is still, and the AI is going to go the same way. And the bottom line is, I don't know if I'm going off tack with your question, but with AI, embrace it, use it. Don't rely on it like solely, because I tell you what, the one thing that will never change is innovation. Humans make innovation, which is why, along with the basic stuff like making sure that innovation is part of that human impact metrics. Like, anyone can innovate. Anyone. Like we got in bed with the government of Ecuador, and we helped establish the very first public innovation fund. That fund has seen huge job numbers, increase in GDP, exports. Now we're exporting technology and business and knowledge out of Ecuador into Canada. So we establish them. We take those LMIC technologies and innovations. We run them through a program in Ecuador. Then the founders come to Canada. We establish them here. We'll soon be doing the same in the United States. It's just we started in Canada because this is where I stopped. And then we'll those innovation projects, then they get run through again in North America, and then they're ready to launch to the world. We've got car tech, we've got seed development, we've got a new medical AI technology coming out. We've got like all sorts of innovation coming out. We've got health tech. We got all sorts, like phenomenal healthcare tech.
Right.
Coming out. But what's happened is they've been ignored because it's LMIC and they don't have the money. And then previously they would just get ripped off because no one will protect their IP. So what we do is we run them through an innovation fund, protect their IP, and then it all comes out the other side. And then we're getting stuff that you wouldn't even known about because there's innovation everywhere and that never stops.
Right.
People are innovators, whether they like it or not. Everyone's innovating,
I love that. Thank you for that. So as we're coming to an end, for all the viewers watching, continue to subscribe to Sync Consultants LLC via YouTube. And again, thank you again, Chris Haswell. No, originally I'm from Sierra Leone. I came to the United States as a teenager, and then, I'm a U.S. citizen as well. So I can relate to the diversity and how things work. And I appreciate you for taking that on your journey and making Sierra Leone and your interaction with President BL and all that, making that happening. And I know you're doing a great thing over there. So
Thanks.
Really want to applaud you for taking that project. So I just want to go back to your mission, right? I know you're doing the Sierra Leonean. What exactly will you say is your future? What are your next 2-3 projects that you're working on right now? And what we
Oh gosh, we're working on a lot. Okay, so we've got a medical innovation fund that we're about to launch called Panacea. So basically we take medical innovations from LMICs, like could be Sierra Leone, it could be Ecuador, wherever. We take those projects and then we put them through an accelerator in their host country. Take Ecuador as an example. So we help the government set up a first public innovation fund. We're now building an innovation hub. So basically we're building a 7-story building in Quito. That building will host on the ground floor. It's going to host just shared working space. And then on the next floor, we've got offices, kitchens, that sort of thing. The floor above that is then security and all that stuff. And then above that, we're offering to foreign governments like hot desk and consular space. So with all of the services that they would expect and security and everything else that would come with the console, and they can come in and book it for a period of time. So then we're bringing different countries and their innovation. So they would send teams from different countries into Ecuador and they work together. And then above that is accommodation for people that might, they might be, innovators don't have a lot of money. So we'll be like, well, you can come and stay here in the building and da-da-da. And then on the roof, we're going to have a pool and a rest, like nice area, So we build the innovation in the country. Anyway, so we've got, out of that, we've decided to launch a medical innovation fund called Panacea. The first technology is coming out of Ecuador, actually, but there's all, so for that one, we've taken technology that's been running for 15 years. It's worked, it's phenomenal. I won't go into what it is right now, but it is game changing. Now, we then worked with a university who did a ton of work for us, Guelph University, the consulting club there. They did a load of global work and they found that the country that would benefit the most was India. So we then went straight to India. And anyway, we're now making this first project about solving a problem in India and saving the government an absolute fortune in the process. Because again, it's back to providing services for national priorities. So this ticked all the boxes for India. That's where we're going with it. Okay. But we have so anyway, sorry, back to the fund itself. So what happens is we find this technology that's already working in the host country. We then bring it up to standards that are acceptable in Europe, North America, et cetera, okay, with the healthcare testing. But we insist that half of the testing is done, or the same level of testing is done in the host country or the parent country as is in the US or Canada or Europe or wherever it might be done. That way, we're building STEM jobs in country. We're improving facilities. If we have to invest huge sums of money into those facilities to be able to do that testing, that is what we will do. The point is, we're never just going to benefit where it's going. It has to benefit where it came from. So we're increasing their abilities in country. We get it to the point where it then needs to move to North America. We then establish them here in Canada. Now we're doing it in the United States as well. But we then establish them here and then we roll it out across North America or whichever new country it needs to go to. But with this being the jump off point, once we protected its IP and everything else, IP protection is a big one. So that's the next one. That's a big one that we're doing. A fun thing that we're doing is we're working with a phenomenal girl called Haley Page. Oh, I don't know if I'm meant to call her a girl, lady. I don't know. She's really cute and sweet, so I'm going to call her a girl. Hey, Haley Page. She is this phenomenal wedding dress designer. She's been on like Say Yes to the Dress. I don't know much about reality TV, but apparently it's a thing. Uh, and like she creates the most fabulous designs. Anyway, she had her IP taken from her. A company, she partnered with a company. It got to the point where she couldn't even use her own name. She couldn't make clothes. She couldn't do anything. This company just like took her and crushed her. So she's worked hard with the US government to work on IP protections and women's rights and yada, 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 all that good stuff. We've partnered with her to form a Girl You Might Know Foundation, and we are working with her to do a big launch. We've got a big event happening in the beginning of 2026. And basically, we're having a big gala dinner, and it's going to showcase the top 20 innovations, female-led innovations that have come through the foundation. And basically, what the foundation does is it gives those entrepreneurs, it gives them finance, legal protections, mentorship, all the stuff that you need, but like in a very real way. It's not just helping people for helping people's sake. Again, this is a very real problem with a great story and great people, and we just want to be part of this, part of making it right. So that's really cool. And yeah, I could go off about any number of projects, but I think that's enough. You said two.
Right. So, I mean, you're awesome. I love to deal with global impact. I love your journey. I love what you do.
There's loads of fun stuff as well happening in Africa. And there's loads of little power plays that that's gonna like shock other countries. They're gonna be like, oh damn, we need to be nicer.
Hey, Sync family, welcome. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Whether you just joined us or you've been rocking with this channel since the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you who recently crossed a milestone with all our videos across the board. Your likes, your comments, your shares, and support mean more than you know. To all our new subscribers, welcome to Sync Community, a global family of future leaders, innovators, and problem solvers. You are in the right place. And to everyone who have been here from day one, thank you for sticking with us, giving feedback, pushing to grow, and helping us spread the mission of AI, GovCon, entrepreneurship, and global impact. Make sure you continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay connected as we drop more powerful conversations and insights every week. You can always find us here on YouTube at Sync Consultants LLC. And guess what, guys? We just launched our updated new website. Check it out at www.sync.s. Check it out for deeper insight into our services, upcoming initiatives, consulting solutions, and ways we're helping businesses unlock real growth with AI and strategy. We welcome all our new clients, partners, and collaborators daily. So feel free to explore and reach out. Thank you again, Sync family.
Low leverage. Know your leverage.
Right. So right now you have offices in US, Canada.
We're established in the US, in Canada, US. We were established in the UK, but it was going so slow with the government there that I'm not knocking the government. It just was that it wasn't worth our resources. However, we are revisiting that now. And then we have like satellite offices in the Caribbean, in the Middle East. Obviously, we have an office in Ecuador for Latin America. So yeah.
So no Asian market?
We are going there next. The next places that we're going to be opening up are going to be Singapore.
Okay.
And then we hope to open up in Israel as well.
Okay, great. What kind of partnership are you looking for? Do people come to you, or you pick the people you work with?
We just want to work with good people. One of the best. I gotta say something about my co-founder. Actually,
all right,
she's awesome. Up until I met her, I used to work. I'm not gonna lie. I used to work like 20-hour days.
Okay,
7 days a week. Like work is what makes me happy, or it did. And then she made me look at life a bit more. I was like, well, slow down a bit and like enjoy it. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. Okay. I'm a diplomat, really. I'm a people pleaser. I'm a diplomat. I'm a strategist. And so I would waste so much time on the wrong kind of people. And again, if you can come back to that human impact metrics, don't get me wrong. I shock my business partner sometimes because she's like, well, you got to be a bit nicer in how you say stuff. I'm like, I just say it how I see it. I'm never rude or mean about anyone, but I won't listen to like nonsense. If someone's like, blah, 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 small violin and all this stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not interested in that. Like you have no excuse. It's like, if you can't do something, we'll make it happen, but don't give me all the tears. I don't want to hear that. I want to talk about what we're going to do anyway. But what she did was she got me to actually just work with people I like and stop with the whole people pleasing. So really, it's like, I just want to work with people I can have a genuine conversation with that won't bullshit me. Sorry, won't lie to me, that we can connect on something.
Okay.
And sometimes the best relationships are the ones where we don't even agree. Like, I'm not going to say what my political leaning is, but some of my best friends lean very much the other way. Like, and I'm talking people senior in government, like leaders in government. And we shouldn't get along, but we do. Because the bottom line is we just want to do good. Like, actually, everyone pretty much wants to, unless they're an arsehole. So, again, it's back to that human impact metrics. Like, really, no one can shoot you down if you just want to make sure that people are healthy and can participate in the economy and, just basic stuff.
Well, that's great. Of course, with some of the other interaction I've had, there are people who would say, well, I only work with governments or I work with large organizations that are, from.
Okay, what we do is we bring together
Okay.
governments, corporations, and investors in general. However, off of that, we then work with the community and we work with, whatever stakeholders are needed to make sure that that community is best served. And a lot of what we do, if I'm being brutally honest with you,
Sure.
is almost like a translating service. Like,
Okay.
governments speak different to corporations. Corporations speak very different to innovators who speak very different to scientists who speak very different to medical professionals. Like, a lot of it. And again, it's back to that. If you spend the time in your prep, you build trust. Everything's it's back to this trust. Trust is a currency that we use because working in LMICs, I can't use their good credit. I can't use like sovereign guarantees often. Like, there's so many things that, like, if I'm approaching a project and it's like for the US, it's easy. If it's for the UK or whatever, it's easy. But there's too many barriers if you do it that way. We got to use trust as a currency.
Absolutely.
And then from there, as I said, turn those gatekeepers into guarantors, work with them, love them, blow smoke up their ass if you need to, but like get them on board so that they see there is a way. Prove to them that they've done it before. Might have been slightly different, but hey, hey, Exim, you managed to lend money to that country or whatever it is, DSC, whatever. You managed to lend money for that project, for that country because it did X, Y, and Z. Okay, this is infrastructure and this is a friendly country that isn't on any of this. And this ties into the national objective of, so this can work for all of these reasons. There's nothing that should stop it, but it needs a bit of work. It might need a bit of policy reform. It might need, any number of like stuff. But the bottom line is you just need a willingness of people to work together to make it happen.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And again, I know depending on the nature and sensitivity of your global impact, you probably can't name all your clients.
I tell you what I can do though. I can say a very big thank you to the Fairmont Hotel in Washington for letting us use their Kennedy Ballroom for free for our Girl You Might Know Foundation. That was incredible. And I'm very, very sorry to the awesome Canadian chap who's made it all possible, who's about to become my new best friend. Can't remember your name, but anyway, you are awesome. So yeah, I'll drop that in while I can. Donald, I expect to see you there in Washington as well.
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk.
I'll send you, don't worry, we'll send you a ticket.
Yeah. So we're both connected on LinkedIn. So how can our listeners or any government or association that has human impact design and just want to get a hold of you, how can people?
They should go to Donald Kaisamba. No, I'm joking. Okay. They can look me up on LinkedIn, Christopher Haswell on LinkedIn.
Yes. Okay.
They can email me. It's Christopher at Aton Path. That's ATONPATH.com. I'm not going to give you my phone number just in case. I'll give you my assistant's phone number. No, I won't. I won't. It's a joke.
You have a great assistant, by the way.
Great, isn't she? Great.
Yeah, in awesome.
That poor woman, because I am, as you can imagine, with the amount of work I'm doing, and I think you get an idea of my energy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all over the place. And she's like the poor woman. She's like, now who you talking to? I was like, oh, sorry, no, that was someone in this country. Oh no. And she's like, what are you talking about now? I didn't even know. And I'm like, oh no, I went to another country now. She's great. Anyway, she keeps me sane.
All right. So I mean, Chris, as we are confirming and concluding our show, so any last words you like, our audience to know about Aton's Path? Any last words?
Okay. Right. Okay. So I'll give you an Aton Path core statement. All right. So at Aton Path, we believe diplomacy should serve people, not paperwork. Okay. So the Accessible Energy Bank proves that a shared purpose can transform nations.
Right.
Like literally, the Accessible Energy Bank shows you that you can be on the left, you can be on the right, politically leaning. Like you can still work together on a common goal. It doesn't have to be hard. We can all get along, and to be honest, if you want success, it takes work, and it takes good partners, and it takes building a base of stakeholders in country that you can form friendships with. You don't have to become friends, but why not if you can?
Right.
Why not?
Right.
You can never have enough friends. I tell you what, like I got great friends now in Sierra Leone, great friends in so many other countries. And it's like, I feel welcome wherever I go. Why wouldn't I want to live like that? It's a privilege and everyone can have it.
So I want to thank you, Chris, for coming to the show. We appreciate your time and effort and learning sharing your perspective of global energy in terms of human impact design and transforming not just organizations, but the country itself. So thank you for coming on board. We appreciate it. And for our audience, continue to sign up to Sync Consultants, subscribe to our show at Sync Consultant LLC. Appreciate it, Chris. Hopefully we get to see more of you.
I hope so. Donald, listen, I'm going to be staying in touch with you. I'd like to keep you abreast of what's going on. And if you've got any suggestions on what we can be doing in Sierra Leone as well, from your own personal perspective,